Tryon.
Here.
Godwin.
Here.
Hensley.
Here.
Excuse me. Approval of the minutes. You've all received a copy of the, special and
Just the March.
March 21st meeting. Any additions or corrections? Seeing none, they'll stand approved as mailed. Approval of the current financial report submitted by the auditor. Any additions or corrections to that? I would entertain a motion to approve that then.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Hensley to approve the current financial report from the city auditor's office. Discussion. Call the roll, please.
Howdeshell.
Yes.
Oliver.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Tryon.
Yes.
Godwin.
Yes.
Hensley.
Yes.
You had that?
I'm going to do the agenda right now.
Okay.
You're getting ahead of me, Mr. Tryon.
Well, we do that first, I guess. I'm not used to that, adding that extra financial report.
Under the approval of the agenda, I have two things to add. We do have a need for an executive session after the call of council, and it's dealing with matters of personnel, to consider the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, and/or compensation of a public employee or official, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, which is Ohio Revised Code 121.22G, subparagraph 1. Also, under new business, I would like to add to set date for meeting with Township Trustees and Greenville City Council regarding Greenville Union Cemetery Board. This is something that we do annually, first meeting in May every year. And other than that, that's all I have.
Motion to approve the agenda, amended agenda?
Motion by Mrs. Howdeshell to approve the agenda as amended. Discussion? Call the roll.
Howdeshell.
Yes.
Oliver.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Tryon.
Yes.
Godwin.
Yes.
Hensley.
Yes.
Moving on to public hearings. We have something scheduled this evening. I guess the YOLO organization has requested time on the agenda regarding the urban park project. So representatives from that organization, please state your name and address and what your situation is.
Thank you, Mr. President and Council. Travis Fleeman, address 8314, State Route 121, Greenville, Ohio, legal counsel for the YOLO organization. Thought it may be an opportunity for me to give an update on behalf of Philip Pieri as to the status of the project, kind of refresh council with a timeline of what's been transpiring over what's now been over 2 years. You'll recall, council, that back in December of 2014, Philip and Matt first approached council with the idea of starting an urban park. Council seemed very interested in that and appointed an ad hoc committee. That ad hoc committee met in January and March of 2015, almost 2 years ago. They gave an update to council back in September of 2015. And then we move ahead about a year. This past December, my office began working with Eric Brand as your law director to work out the details of a joint use agreement and a number of other things, including a resolution and ordinance, which this council passed back on December 6th. That ordinance was 16-126, whereby the city gave YOLO a certain license to use adjacent property for the development of this urban park. Mr. Brand's office and I have been working through a joint use agreement. So just let the council know what a joint use agreement is. This agreement is merely council and the city agreeing to allow and basically take ownership of this project after the project is completed and continue to use it for its intended purpose for at least 15 years. That's part of the grant requirement with ODNR, that a nonprofit organization such as YOLO be given state funds to develop a piece of real estate and then put the piece of real estate into the public domain for public use. And so certainly YOLO is interested in and willing to do the heavy labor and the work and get the funding accomplished and get the project up and completed. If the city so agrees to, once that's been completed, that the city then would take ownership of that and manage it for 15 years. That's kind of the reason for the state giving the grant. And so Mr. Brand's office and I have been working through some details of that. Obviously, the license was passed back in December. In February this past year, just a couple months ago, the ODNR put out a template joint use agreement. So the joint use agreement that Mr. Brand and I have been working on, we kind of had to table that a little bit and start over a little bit. We incorporated much of what we had already done, but they had a particular template they wanted us to use. So Mr. Brand and I have been working through that in some detail. I gave Mr. Brand an update of that on February 9th. He's responded with a couple things that I think are minor, but I would like to address them to him and to council, because I think we're in a position to almost move forward and like to get a date certain that we do on that. And Mr. Brand, you're welcome to respond with any other concerns you might have. But I think a couple of questions that have been brought up through his office is, does the bidding for the project by YOLO to a general contractor or subcontractors, does that have to follow the same bidding process that city council would have to follow? And the answer is no. Okay, it has certain requirements the grant is going to require, but understand this is not a city project. The city's only going to take ownership of the project once it's completed. So the project itself does not have to follow the same requirements the city would have to follow should the city be doing this project on their own. The second question was whether or not prevailing wage is required as part of the construction process. Again, it is to the extent the grant requirements through DNR require a prevailing wage. And it does, but for purposes of the grant, not for purposes of being affiliated with a city construction project, okay? The third question that Mr. Brand brought up to our attention was whether or not an Ohio Ethics Commission opinion should be obtained with regard to the purchase of the real estate from YOLO from 100 Martin LLC. Just to give you a little background, council, 100 Martin LLC is an organization, a limited liability company in Ohio, which Philip Pierre and Matt Steyer created that bought that property with the intended purpose of doing this project. The goal now is for YOLO to buy that piece of real estate from this limited liability company so that YOLO can do this project. I've contacted the Ohio Attorney General's office. I spoke with Lauren Emery up there about this exact situation. And the concern primarily is YOLO and 100 Martin LLC, this nonprofit corporation and this limited liability company, are somewhat joint, back up, they have common ownership, okay? Meaning that Matt Steyer and Phil Pierre serve as directors on YOLO. They're also the owners of the limited liability company. And whether or not that creates a conflict of interest, I talked to the Ohio Attorney General's office. They indicated that there's nothing explicit in the code that would require an EOC opinion. Ohio Revised Code 1702.301 simply requires when something like this occurs that there's full disclosure of the conflict of interest and that the purchase would be fair to the nonprofit corporation or YOLO. In that sense, we've always intended to have an appraisal done on the property to make sure that YOLO does not pay more than what the property is appraised for, which obviously would violate any nonprofit problems they may have. Again, that's really not a concern for the city because the city is not a party to that contract, but Mr. Brand brought that to our attention, and I wanted to report to Mr. Brand and to the city that I have spoken to Ohio Attorney General's office. They wouldn't give me an explicit opinion, but they kind of instructed me on where to look and kind of what T's to cross and what I's to dot. So we are in the process of getting a specific appraisal of that property so that YOLO does not pay any more than the appraised value in terms of purchasing that from the 100 Martin LLC. But again, that in and of itself is, I don't think, a direct concern for the city. Yes, sir.
As I recall, and I said on the ad hoc committee, that Matt and Philip, when they approached the idea of purchasing that property, it was to lock up that piece of land, so because of being adjacent to the parking lot, that's the site that they wanted, and it was for sale and the possibility of it going somewhere else. Now, you're saying on the appraisal that a fair market value or whatever, if that is higher than what they paid for the property, are they still just going for what they have in it, or are they, if it's lower, are they going to take the loss?
Right. Good question. And Philip Peary is here this evening, so he can correct me if I misspeak. My understanding is 100 Martin LLC bought the property for about $52,000. It is our intentions that, or their intentions that, should the property come back appraised higher than that YOLO will only pay $52,000 for it. So there's no profit being made to Philip or Matt as owners of the LLC. If there's a loss, obviously, or if it comes back lower than that, obviously YOLO cannot purchase it for more than the appraised value. So if it would come back appraised at 45, it would be improper for YOLO to purchase it for more than 45. And therefore, the LLC would have to take a loss in the purchase or sale of it to YOLO. So that is my understanding, Philip. And I don't think that comes as a surprise. We want to be upfront and transparent about that. But I hope that, Mr. Treon, I hope that answers your question.
It's Tryon.
Tryon, I apologize. So I know some Treons on for sale. So
That's what I was going to get at. We're in Greenville, not for sales.
Gotcha. I know. I'm pulled both ways. So. Live in Greenville. My daughter's a tiger, so sorry about that. At this point, and unless Mr. Brand has some other concerns with regards to the joint use agreement, I think we vetted that pretty well. And I think Mr. Pierre's to the point where we need a definitive date on which City Council is going to make a decision to move forward. We do have some concerns that if we delay any longer, funding may become questionable. Okay, I don't have any definitive reasons why that is a concern, but and Phil, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but we've been vetting this issue for about 2 years now. I think we're to the point where Philip and Matt have answered the questions and concerns of the ad hoc committee. If there's anything else, certainly we would certainly like to address that quickly, but we don't want this potential funding to go away. I understand that Governor Kasich is giving a State of the State address tonight as well. I don't know, and none of us in here know what the funding is going to look like in 6 or 12 months from now, whether these projects are still going to have money available in the coffer somewhere. And we don't want to miss out on this if we can avoid it. So I guess what I would like to have, at least a commitment from council, is by the first meeting in May, we have an opportunity to present the joint use agreement to council for approval, and approval in the sense that the mayor has authority to sign it so we can move forward with the grant, because ODNR is just waiting on us to present them with the joint use agreement so they can continue in the grant writing and grant funding process. So, Mr. Brand, unless you've got other concerns that I have not heard, or Mr. I mean, we've kind of vetted them from a number of different places. Mr. Henry, Mr. Garrison's kind of put their 2 cents in, and we've tried to address any concerns. I didn't know if there's anything else. I mentioned that because we had a kind of a big meeting out of my office 3 or 4 or 5 months ago, and I kind of got everything out, and I think that was a good opportunity for us to find out what are our other concerns. And we want to know if there's any other concerns. I don't want to find out, 3 or 4 weeks from now, oh, what about this? I want to know, are there any other concerns that Matt, Philip, or I can address that we can address in the next couple of weeks so that we can get this in front of council the first meeting in May? That's my request.
Sir, a question that I would have, if you are going to bid the project yourselves and the construction will be handled by whomever you choose, any infrastructure readjustments or things, will those conform with the city's requirements for water, sewer, et cetera?
I think they have to.
Because, we've been hit by some other entities, not necessarily recently, but long ago, where contractors would put stuff in outside the city limits at their own parameters and then turn around and give it to the city, and it still didn't meet city requirements. And then whenever a problem occurred, the city was stuck with upgrading everything to the current status. So I'm just wondering if that, and I'm just for council's edification more than anything else, that you certainly must meet all city requirements in those regards.
I don't think that's a question at all. This is a
Okay.
project being done within the city limits. It's not something that's going to be annexed into the city after it's been
Right.
built.
Okay.
I think it has to follow all the codes and all the regs that are on the books in the city. I think the only thing that we may ask at some point in time is maybe a waiver of some permit cost in terms of getting a water tap permit or whatever it might be with regards to those kind of things. But in terms of the construction, it needs to adhere to all the existing ordinance and code regulations that the city has in place, and I think that's well understood.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Unless something's happened within the last 36 hours, of which I'm unaware, planning and zoning had some questions that they wanted explained, and that's the upcoming planning and zoning meeting, which is the next step in this process, which is 2 weeks from tonight.
And we did get, so there was a conversation with the gentleman from Bruns. When the drawings were sent to planning and zoning, there were two versions. And the intention, which wasn't clearly stated, the intention of the next planning and zoning committee is to review both sets of drawings and give a blessing to either A or B. However, option A is contingent upon some land deals with the property on the corner, and if those land deals didn't come to fruition, we would be relegated to option B. So that is the intention of the upcoming planning and zoning meeting. I believe if whatever decision comes out of the planning and zoning commission meeting, those plans will be finalized, and then for the June meeting, hopefully we'll have a set of drawings that depicts all of those different issues as it relates to infrastructure. And just to clarify your questions, the city will follow city regulations, and the city will perform all inspections to make sure that everything adheres to that.
So that meeting, Mr. Garrison, is in 2 weeks with planning and zoning? And
Yes.
you will know whether or not we're going forward with option A or option B?
Well, we're going to give an opinion as to which.
Okay.
And I think there's some other outside, I don't know what the other, I don't know what is going on with the other land deal that might be needed to make that happen. That hasn't been conveyed to us, what that looks like, other than we know it involves a land swap.
Is that, let me ask you, is that a requirement for the project to go forward, or is that just something that may be tangential?
Yeah, I can't, I
Okay.
don't know, I mean.
Bill, are you able to address that issue or not? Uh-huh. I mean, if you don't mind, I don't want to take up council's decision.
No,
I really
no.
would like to get some things out in the open here and discuss them, because it seems like we do a lot of conversation behind closed, and we never get to a definitive answer on some things. You mind?
Yeah.
Philip
Mr.
Geary,
Geary.
6431 Willow Lake Drive, Greenville, Ohio. Currently, we are working with trying to acquire some land between our property and the Triangle Building. I'm not sure the address of that. We're still working out details. Plan A and Plan B, what Kurt was suggesting, if that land swap does, if that the owner of that building gives us the okay to use part of his property, giving him some parking lots in the back, kind of doing a land swap, option A would be the option we'd go. If that falls through, which is fine, option B is just using our property as well as the city parking lot. So it all depends on if that goes through. If it doesn't, that's fine. We'll move forward without it. If it goes through, then we'll move forward with it.
But generally, the rest of the design is kind of the concepts that we've already looked at.
Yes. Yep. And it's basically exactly the same except for the.
So,
little-
roughly the timeline then, Mr. Garrison, would be zoning and planning would review that in 2 weeks at the April 18th meeting. And then they would have a
report the decision at the council meeting.
Pardon?
I can report whatever decision was made at the council meeting, which
Right.
comes after planning and zoning. And then we may, I don't know if we'll be ready the first meeting in May, or if it would need to be the second meeting in May.
That's not including a zoning change, is it? It doesn't have to lay over for 30 days or anything like that? Okay, just wanted to make sure.
I guess if I'm.
And that's not, shouldn't affect the joint use agreement.
Right.
And that's what I'm getting at. I think the joint use agreement is what YOLO needs to move forward with ODNR. And I think we're trying to get all these ducks in a row when they don't necessarily have to be. We don't really need to know, is it A or B from planning and zoning to get council to approve the joint use agreement to move forward with the project. And again, I don't mean to be difficult, but I don't think that's, and Ms. Brand, you can respond from a legal perspective. I don't think we need to know A or B in order to move forward with the joint use agreement. At least from my perspective, I don't think we need to.
Haven't seen either one. I can't even address that.
I mean, whether or not this design includes an alley or doesn't include an alley doesn't affect whether or not council agrees to a joint cooperative agreement with YOLO to do this project and take over the project once it's completed 2 years from now. If we're gonna try and wait until we figure out where every tree's planted and where every curb is before we sign a joint use agreement, this thing's gonna fall apart, and I don't want that to happen.
And the land swap doesn't include any current city property.
It does not. That's correct.
I would say we need to assist this group and move forward with that basic idea that, you know, the land swap has nothing to do with it. It's just the land use agreement between the city and YOLO. So I'd want to move forward as quickly as possible. Because I do agree with one statement, once the governor starts talking, we don't know.
Yeah, I don't know how much money's gonna be in the state treasury, and I don't know who's gonna be writing the check.
Would you restate or clarify exactly what you said pertaining to public bidding and prevailing wage?
Yeah, Susan Laux with Moten Associates has been very involved in the grant writing of this with ODNR. And my understanding is the grant, receiving of the grant has certain requirements, including requirements with regards to bidding and requirements with regards to prevailing wage. And the project will conform to the requirements of that grant. And those requirements may be greater or less than what would be placed upon the city if the city was doing the project. The city's not doing the project. It's a project being conducted by a private nonprofit organization with funding from the state of Ohio, and therefore we've got to comply with the state of Ohio requirements for bidding and wage requirements. And that's what we're going to do. I can't address those specifically. I'm not the
I
grant
would say in
writer, but.
reviewing it, they look very similar.
Oh, I'm sure they do.
requirements.
I'm sure they do. I just don't want to say we're going to follow what the ORC requires of the city of Greenville. I'm not sure they're mirror images of each other. And I think YOLO, in doing this project, is obligated to follow the requirements of the grant.
So basically, go back, one of the holdups was the ethics potential conflict of the property owner, and that's been addressed with, they're not gonna charge anything more than what they pay for the property, and then they're willing to take a loss if it prices
Right.
out that way.
Right.
So I think that answers that question, because there was no secret, the intention was that they were buying that property to wrap it up, with the intention of selling it back, you know, for what they paid for it, and actually, they've got more in it because of the appraisal costs, the legal fees, the filing of the LLC and all that, and you're not trying to recoup that, so.
No, and just so that we are above board, we are going to have that appraisal done and not YOLO's not going to pay from anything more than either the purchase price or the appraisal, whichever is less. And I think that more than satisfies what the Ohio Revised Code would require. I'd hate, now if YOLO, obviously as a nonprofit, wanted to go ahead and get an Ohio Ethics Commission opinion, it could, and we have no idea how many months that would take in order to accomplish. The nonprofit doesn't seem that it's necessary. We want to obviously document the fact that there are common ownership and common directors of these organizations. And again, we just want to be above board with that issue, so.
and from reading local media that there is an outside entity that's willing to take the building that's on that property and move it at their cost to the fairgrounds.
I won't respond. I'm not privy to that conversation.
We may want to have the street sweeper follow it as it goes. Either it's gonna, fall apart or leak grease, one of the two.
They might have a hamburger fall out.
Yeah. Dibs.
Okay.
Ooh, gross.
Council, appreciate it. Again, I know there's been a couple tweaks that Mr. Garrison's provided and Mr. Pieri with regards to the joint use agreement. I'll get a copy over to Mr. Brand's office first thing tomorrow morning. I hope we can put some finality to that, and hopefully we'll be back here within a month, getting your approval to move forward. So, thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. That's the only scheduled public hearing we had. Anyone else wishing to address council may do so at this time. Please come forward and state your name and address and your concern. Seeing no one jumping up, I'm going to do something kind of unprecedented a little bit, and I don't mean this in a derogatory manner, but I would certainly like to call on our new liar initiate, Mr. Mayor Steve Willman. Welcome, Brother Liar.
Thank you, Council President. I guess.
Yes.
Very interesting evening, yes. I know there's several things that few people want to bring up tonight, so I have one thing, I'll make it short, is we've been working on the fountain lights. I haven't, but Ryan Delk and Jeff Francis and workers have been trying to get the fountain going and setting up the lights that we brought up the end of last year and raised money to change the color of our water and fountain. And it could be that they're blue tonight. So when you go home, check it out. Hopefully it really looks nice. There's a chance that we had a little glitch in the computer system. The controller came with, I think, a pre-programmed lights that in the computer system that was conflicting with a new program that they wrote to change the lights. And every time they would turn the one program on that we wanted to run, the existing program in the controller switched it back to light, a white light. So it didn't change anything. So hopefully, they're hoping that it works tonight and the fountain may be blue when we go out of here and go home. So hopefully it is, and check it out. So after that, that's it. Unless somebody else has we'll get your chance. I'm passed.
Okay. And Saturday, it may be frozen. Something like that. You never know.
Oh, Lordy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Safety Service Director, Mr. Garrison.
Thank you, Mr. Council President. In the middle of March, City Administration had a meeting with Vectren to review the 2017 Bear Steel replacement project that will take place here in the city of Greenville. We've been through similar projects like this with Vectren over the last several years, and each year legislation is brought forward to council to reduce the permit opening fee to $25 per opening, and the City of Greenville Council has set a bond rate of $100,000 for the entire project. Normally, bonds are calculated on the amount of openings. Due to the large amount of openings, we've capped that bond at $100,000 in the past. So this evening, I am asking if anyone has objection to bringing such legislation to the next council meeting. The areas involved will be Martin Street, 13th Street, Tillman, and Ohio. And Ohio is being done in anticipation of our ODOT grant award. Not that we've received it yet, but
Is this,
Does this include, if you know, veterans changing out the meters to the outside of the residence?
That is another program that, however, if there are meters that are a part of this project, they may go ahead and do that. But they have another maintenance crew that comes through and does those types of upgrades.
Well, they did that upgrade to Broadway
Right.
at that time. I was just wondering if it was gonna follow the same pattern. so.
This is for this year, this is what we have, what we know about. We don't anticipate other veteran projects in 2017.
When you say Martin Street, is this the entire
Yep.
length of Martin Street?
Yep,
Same as 13th?
yes,
And then 13th all the way up to where the construction ended last year on Ohio?
correct.
Okay.
So, which Martin Street is anticipation of the ODOT paving that will take place in 2020.
Yeah.
And just a little side note, if you're curious how they're gonna do this, due to maintenance of traffic on the state highway and busy thoroughfare, they will most likely install 2 gas lines, 2 mains, one for each of the side of the road, so that they can keep one side open while they're working. And then they don't have to shut anything down as they go across. So, but that's on them, that's their expense.
And several years ago, when Martin Street was kind of redone and they put the sidewalks, upgraded all the sidewalks and things, they'll put that back to those
Yes.
specifications.
Any objection to bringing that legislation forward at the next meeting?
No.
That will be to reduce the,
Yeah.
And
we
set the
have a
bond rate.
standard. We'll just change the names, the dates, and
okay, great.
amounts stay the same.
There's no objection, that would be fine.
Okay, thank you. As far as our citywide aggregation program, just a few updates. There were some questions at our last council meeting regarding the electric aggregation. One of the questions, I believe, raised by Mr. Burkett had to do with level billing. Upon researching that question, I was able to find that a customer's level billing will not be affected by this aggregation program. A customer could currently be involved in another contract through an electrical supplier and still be on level billing. Now, as I said at the last meeting, most likely they will not see a change in their monthly amount that they pay until they get a year's worth of usage, and then the previous year's usage is reviewed and the new rate is set for that level bill. Also regarding the electric, we're starting to get the phone calls from those that said, I didn't get a letter and I want to participate. And the reason that they didn't get a letter is because they're participating in a different program. They have already contracted with a different supplier. We encourage those that are on another electric supply contract. If they did not receive a letter, contact the mayor's office. We will put them in contact with AGE. AGE will take care of the scheduling of getting them enrolled in our aggregation program when their contract expires. So that, one of the questions was, what is AGE's role in this process? This is one of the last things that they will be doing for our customers, is that they will, if a customer chooses to be enrolled, they will walk them through that process. They'll monitor when their contract is going to expire and make sure that they get enrolled into our program. And one of the things that I was not able to talk about at the last meeting is concerning natural gas. It is final. We have signed the contract. The rate for natural gas is 4.23 cents per CCF. That's 4.23 cents per CCF. Opt-out letters will be going in the mail this week. Well, it's 0.0423 cents, or 4 point, yeah. So, opt-out letters will go in the mail this week, just like the electric. If a customer has not signed a contract for natural gas, they will automatically be enrolled unless they call the number to opt out. If they have a current natural gas contract They will not be able to get into the program until their current contract expires, unless they want to pay an early terminate. Most likely, their contracts hold some sort of a early termination fee. So, any questions, any new questions on aggregation? Anything that citizens have approached you about that you're not sure about?
If somebody is just moving into the community, what steps do they take?
Find out that answer for you. Because they're a new customer, they will have to opt, because this is like that open enrollment period, and
Yeah.
once this period is over, they will need to call Dynergy and set up their account. They're not just automatically, DP&L is just not going to automatically enroll them into the program. DP&L still selling electric. I mean,
Okay,
so it would be up to them to,
same for veteran and,
same for veteran, yeah.
Now, on the gas rate, that's 2 years, right?
The gas is a 2-year contract, electric is a 3-year. PUCO, Public Utilities Commission of Ohio, will only allow 2-year gas contracts.
And I was on the Apples to Apples website the other day, and I was looking at the gas rates, and there was none of them that was this low, maybe for like 6 months. But then they have a termination fee if you sit there and got out of it.
Right. Well, if you remember early in the process when AGE was doing their presentation to council, they were not confident that we would even sign a natural gas contract, because in most municipalities, just due to there's a large amount of natural gas out there, that the going veteran rate was generally the lowest rate that you could get. So similar to, or what we talked about at the end of the process before we signed the electric aggregation contract, if you remember, the city of Sydney passed a resolution and they redid some things, so they were able to renew at the same time as we are and the other municipalities that we're involved with. Well, with that usage, it drove that gas price down. So thank you to Sydney for doing that, and that's how we were able to accomplish this. Any other questions on aggregation? Okay, just a couple miscellaneous things I'd like to cover this evening. Chad Henry has been researching a new permit for the city of Greenville, and it's called a heavy haul permit. And the rates for this heavy haul permit are set by ORC, but we as a city do not currently have a form or an application process for a hauler to come into our office, fill this out, and pay a fee. Currently, the Andersons Marathon, they are wanting to use large tankers, overweight tankers, to haul fuel. And they've been inquiring about this permit and encouraging us to get something in place so that they can start that process. Chad has researched what other communities are doing. He's made up a sample application form, included rates. My question for council this evening is, how would you like to move this forward? I believe we have a couple options. One option would be to send this to committee, like we did the review of our fee structures the first of the year, and have the committee review that as a special assignment. Or due to the fact that the rates are set by ORC, could I give this to Mr. Brand for review, have him look it over, and if he found favor with it, that we could bring it back to council in the form of a resolution and move that process forward?
I think since Anderson's is wanting it done as quickly as possible, we should just send it to Eric.
You have a problem with that, Mr. Brand?
I haven't seen it, so go ahead.
I know.
I agree that if the fees are set by ORC,
Why do we need to do it?
it's just an extra step for us that the law director's gonna guide us anyway. Be one less 9 o'clock meeting he has to make, or 8 o'clock, or,
Okay, well, I appreciate that. That is how we will handle that matter, and expect to see a finished product soon. The next thing under my miscellaneous topics, I know that several council members have been contacted by citizens regarding drug usage and drug crimes in the city of Greenville. And I just wanted to hand out a document that kind of outlines what the police department is seeing as far as calls. And don't want to spend a whole lot of time on this, but, you know, as you're contacted and citizens are asking questions, and just want you to know that, you know, the city police department is taking a very proactive approach to the drug problems and actually all crime in the city of Greenville, not just drugs. Obviously, drugs is at the forefront of everyone's mind. Social media is definitely talking about this every day. But I think what you'll see as you look at this report, that, you know, as one section of the crimes may increase, that touches on other areas for an increase. You know, and the other thing I wanted to stress to council is, you know, it's easy for me to sit here and say that we're working on it. Unfortunately, when I say we're sitting here working on it, it's not something that we can go into a whole lot of details about what we're working on. But I do just want to give you that reassurance. I want to give the public that reassurance. And then, you know, the other topic that has come up along with this is the use of our nuisance abatement orders as it relates to certain properties in the city. And again, that is one tool that is factored into the investigation of all of these crimes. That if that is a tool that we can use, we will most certainly do that. And we are in that process. So taking that as what we would maybe see as a negative light on our city as we look at the drug activity, would like to just maybe turn the tables a little bit and turn that into a positive. And the next thing that I'd like to talk about, and not just talk about, but I'd like to invite you to, is, and you're familiar with the group We Are the Majority. The young ladies that came and spoke to this council, and you gave them the authority to go down to the East Main Street Bridge, and they've painted the graffiti, only to have it graffiti, to go back and repaint over the graffiti. Very persistent. They have decided that they would like to conduct a march or a walk on April the 17th, and this will start at the Annie Oakley Park at 10 a.m., and they will walk down Broadway. And this is the Monday after Easter, so I believe all of the Darke County schools are closed, so we anticipate a lot of youth. And, you know, the reason that they're doing this is to make a statement to our community that there are good kids out there, and there are kids out there that are making positive choices. And this is one way for them to show that. And so they will march from Annie Oakley Park to the city building. We will close down Broadway for a few minutes while they do that. They will congregate here at the city building, and Whirlpool and Continental Carbonics has graciously volunteered to, I believe they're going to do hamburgers for all those who are in attendance. So we're going to kind of make it a festive atmosphere. Once they get to the city building, I believe there's a proclamation, and the kids will speak. So again, you are, that is at 10 a.m. at Annie Oakley Park. So you're all invited. If you don't want to march, at least come to the city building and shake hands and encourage our youth. And then I will end with just an update on our project status with the 4 Schweitzer Street project. We had a pre-con with Broompaw Construction. They would like to start in the middle of May. That project, as far as the water line installation, is scheduled to end, I believe, around the first part of October. Chad Henry is in the process of composing a letter that will go out to the property owners, and we will, as we've done with other projects, most likely have a public meeting and the likely choice of a venue is Memorial Hall. That is not scheduled, but would like to get that scheduled for the first part of May, just to invite residents to hear about this portion of the project, and then also update them as to the ODOT project. Council have any questions? With that, Mr. Council President, I will pass.
Thank you, sir. Moving on to Law Director, Mr. Brand.
I shall not lie, I pass.
You have a card to do that. City Auditor, Mrs. Wellman.
Thank you, Mr. Council President. I shall pass as well.
Okay, thank you. That concludes our administrative reports. Committee reports, we have one out of the Utilities Committee regarding a review of a request for water and sewer services to Jeff Serber's property, 5260 State Route 49, which is outside of the Greenville city limits.
Committee report dated March 30th, 2017. Honorable members, we hereby submit our report. The Utilities Committee met on March 30th, 2017 to review providing city sewer services to Jeff Serber at parcel F2402111100004130 outside of the city limits. The committee recommends the following. Provide sewer services to the property upon signing of a pre-annexation agreement between the city and Jeffrey Serber once Serber has taken possession of the property. That the water rate be changed from the current 100% in-city rate to the 110% out-of-city limits rate. That the sewer rate be charged at 150%. That the law director prepare the necessary legislation. Respectfully submitted, Committee on Utilities, Chairman Clarence Godwin, Vice Chairman Tracy Tryon, and Member Todd Oliver.
You've heard the reading of the report.
Move to accept the committee's report.
Motion by Mr. Rogers to accept the committee's report. Discussion.
The reason for the separating the water and the sewer was we found that there was already water at this property. And I don't know if it was done at the time that, as an incentive for the previous owner of the building or not, but, and, so we were just making it the same as any other of the annexation agreements, and the property owner had no problem with that.
Okay. Further discussion. Call the roll, please.
Howdeshell?
Yes.
Oliver?
Yes.
Rogers?
Yes.
Tryon?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Hensley?
Yes.
The legislation is prepared, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so the report passed, the legislation prepared, that'll automatically be added to the agenda. Under ordinances, the resolution is item 10. And what is that titled? Ordinance authorizing, okay. Services outside the city. It's an ordinance.
Matt?
Okay, nothing else on the committee reports?
Can I sign that the day I close? Is that, or will it have to be a council meeting?
No, you can take care of it.
You want the address, phone number for his office?
Next, we have an ordinance to, it's a supplemental appropriations ordinance.
An ordinance to make additional appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the City of Greenville, State of Ohio during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2017. This ordinance authorizes appropriations to the general fund for professional services GPAT in the amount of $2,400. These funds are needed to cover a 2016 invoice recently received. To the park fund for equipment maintenance park in the amount of $4,445. These funds represent a grant awarded by the Dark County Parks Improvement Program. Future Park Development Park in the amount of $9,994. These funds represent the city's share of the next phase of the Park Trails project. These funds will be reimbursed by the county.
Mr. Council President, I move to suspend the rules on this ordinance, read it by title only, second and third time.
Motion, Mr. Godwin, to suspend the rules, read the ordinance by title, second and third time. Discussion. Call the roll, please.
Howdeshell?
Yes.
Oliver?
Yes.
Rogers?
Yes.
Tryon?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Hensley?
Yes.
An ordinance to make additional appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the City of Greenville, State of Ohio during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2017. An ordinance to make additional appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the City of Greenville, State of Ohio during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2017.
Move to accept.
Motion by Mrs. Howdeshell to adopt the ordinance. Discussion.
I have one thing I'd like to ask administration with the grant received by the park. Does that fit into the overall plans for the year? Are they submitting grant requests that fit our overall project, or should we?
Your question really should be addressed to the park board on Thursday night, because we don't we don't administer that grant, and that is taken care of by the park secretary. So we really, as far as the Dark County Parks grant goes,
I mean, I'm not trying to quell.
and I'm not trying to dodge your question, we just do not have involvement with that particular grant.
Well, and I'm not trying to quell getting grants, but, you know, when grants are being applied for, we really need to make sure that they fit into the overall, plans, and I know that the last couple of years, the plans for the park have been kinda here, and we need to have a more cohesive unit, know what direction we're going in. That's the only thing I'm asking. I can't make Thursday's meeting, that if you could relay that concern. You know, if we could get some sort of 5-year comprehensive plan, it would help.
In the last few months, they've been trying to do some work as far as some planning. I don't think anything's been going on very much before the last, maybe this year. And I think they realize, since we've had so many projects outside of control of the city, like the Friends of the Park doing an island project, that band shell, whatever, that they see the need of identifying other projects so that the Friends of the Park are gonna go out and work on something that's not something that they both mutually want to have done.
Right.
So there is some work being done on that. I don't know where they're at in that, but certainly it'd be a good question to have them start to maybe even present something to us so that we have an idea, so things don't even from this area.
Yeah, when it comes to the budget process, you know,
Sure.
makes things a lot easier to plan. Thank
I
you.
plan on being there, so I'll
Thank you.
talk to them.
Further discussion, questions? Okay, the motion is to adopt, correct? Call the roll, please.
Powdershell?
Yes.
Oliver?
Yes.
Rogers?
Yes.
Tryon?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Hensley?
Yes.
Next, we have an ordinance authorizing payments related to the road right-of-way along Schweitzer and 4th Street.
An ordinance authorizing payments related to the road right-of-way along Schweitzer and 4th Street. This ordinance authorizes the city auditor to make payments to Jody and Jason Cinsano in the amount of $2,275 and to the Harder Foundation LTD in the amount of $1,005 for road right-of-way related to the Schweitzer and 4th Street project.
Move to suspend the rules, read this ordinance by title only, second and third time.
Motion by Mr. Oliver to suspend the rules, read the ordinance by title, second and third time. Discussion. Call the roll.
Powdershell?
Yes.
Oliver?
Yes.
Rogers?
Yes.
Tryon?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Hensley?
Yes.
An ordinance authorizing payments related to the road right-of-way along Schweitzer and 4th Street. An ordinance authorizing payments related to the road right-of-way along Schweitzer and 4th Street.
Move to adopt the ordinance?
Motion by Mr. Rogers to adopt the ordinance. Discussion. Call the roll.
Powdershell?
Yes.
Oliver?
Yes.
Rogers?
Yes.
Tryon?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Hensley?
Yes.
Next, we have a resolution authorizing filing of application with ODOT for grants for reconstruction of Ohio Street.
A resolution authorizing filing an application for Ohio Department of Transportation Alternative Grant for reconstruction of Ohio Street. This resolution authorizes the Safety Service Director to file an application with the Ohio Department of Transportation for a grant for improvements on Ohio Street South to 4th Street to 13th Street.
Move to suspend the rules, give this resolution second and third reading by title.
Mr. Rogers to suspend the rules, read the resolution by title, second and third time. Discussion. Call the roll, please.
Powdershell?
Yes.
Oliver?
Yes.
Rogers?
Yes.
Tryon?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Hensley?
Yes.
A resolution authorizing filing an application for an Ohio Department of Transportation alternative grant for reconstruction of Ohio Street. A resolution authorizing filing an application for an Ohio Department of Transportation alternative grant for reconstruction of Ohio Street.
Move to adopt.
Motion by Mr. Oliver to adopt the resolution. Discussion. Call the roll.
Powdershell?
Yes.
Oliver?
Yes.
Rogers?
Yes.
Tryon?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Hensley?
Yes.
Next, we have a resolution to to amend public records policy.
A resolution amending the public records policy. This resolution amends the current public records policy of the city to add a subsection 2 as follows. Requests for records shall be kept in a log as to date of the request and date of the fulfillment of the request. This amendment was recommended by the state auditors.
Move to suspend the rules and read this resolution by title for the second and third time by title only.
Ms. Haudashelt, suspend the rules, read the resolution by title, second and third time. Discussion. Call the roll.
Haddashell?
Yes.
Oliver?
Yes.
Rogers?
Yes.
Tryon?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Hensley?
Yes.
A resolution amending the public records policy. A resolution amending the public records policy.
Move to adopt the resolution?
Motion by Mr. Rogers to adopt the resolution. Discussion.
Yes, simple question, I hope. The records that's gonna be kept in this log, is only the records of the date of the request and the date of the fulfillment? Is there nothing else in the log?
The actual request, the material requested is listed as well, and by whom,
Okay,
and
and all that's public record
Yes.
afterwards anyway?
yes.
Okay, thank you.
Further discussion or questions? Call the roll, please.
Haddashell?
Yes.
Oliver?
Yes.
Rogers?
Yes.
Tryon?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Hensley?
Yes.
Next, resolution to authorize entry into joint contract with Greenville City School District to acquire fuel.
A resolution authorizing entry into a contract jointly with Greenville City School District to acquire fuels from Speedway. This resolution authorizes the Safety Service Director to enter into a joint contract with Greenville City School District to purchase fuels from Speedway LLC at a price discount associated with larger volume of purchases.
Make a motion to suspend the rules on this resolution and read it by title only, second and third time.
Motion by Mr. Godwin to suspend the rules, read the resolution by title, second and third time. Discussion. Call the roll.
Haddashell?
Yes.
Oliver?
Yes.
Rogers?
Yes.
Tryon?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Hensley?
Yes.
A resolution authorizing entry into a contract jointly with Greenville City School District to acquire fuels from Speedway. A resolution authorizing entry into a contract jointly with Greenville City School District to acquire fuels from Speedway.
Move to adopt the resolution?
Motion by Mr. Rogers to adopt the resolution. Discussion. Call the roll.
Haddashell?
Yes.
Oliver?
Yes.
Rogers?
Yes.
Tryon?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Hensley?
Yes.
Next, we have a resolution to authorize the Safety Service Director to enter an agreement for purchase of dual band radios equipment for the fire department.
A resolution authorizing the Safety Service Director to enter into an agreement to purchase dual band radios with related equipment to be used by the City Fire Department. This resolution authorizes the Safety Service Director to enter into an agreement with J&K Communications Incorporated to purchase 20 dual band radios with related equipment for use by the Fire Department.
Move to suspend the rules and read this resolution by title for the second and third time only.
Motion by Mr. Haudashelt to suspend the rules, read the resolution by title, second and third time. Discussion. Call the roll, please.
Haddashell?
Yes.
Oliver?
Yes.
Rogers?
Yes.
Tryon?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Hensley?
Yes.
A resolution authorizing the Safety Service Director to enter into an agreement to purchase dual band radios with related equipment to be used by the City Fire Department. A resolution authorizing the Safety Service Director to enter into an agreement to purchase dual band radios with related equipment to be used by the City Fire Department.
Move to adopt the resolution?
Motion by Mr. Rogers to adopt the resolution. Discussion. Call the roll.
Haddashell?
Yes.
Oliver?
Yes.
Rogers?
Yes.
Tryon?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Hensley?
Yes.
Next, we have a resolution to authorize the Safety Service Director to enter an agreement for the purchase of a skid loader and excavator. I went one too far. Okay, enter an agreement to purchase a Ford truck to be used by the fire department.
A resolution authorizing the Safety Service Director to enter into an agreement to purchase a Ford truck to be used by the City Fire Department. This resolution authorizes the Safety Service Director to enter into an agreement with Lebanon Ford Commercial to purchase a new Ford Explorer for use by the Fire Department.
Move to suspend the rules, read this resolution by title only, second and third time.
Motion by Mr. Oliver to suspend the rules, read the resolution by title, second and third time. Discussion. Call the roll.
Haddashell?
Yes.
Oliver?
Yes.
Rogers?
Yes.
Tryon?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Hensley?
Yes.
A resolution authorizing the Safety Service Director to enter into an agreement to purchase a Ford truck to be used by the City Fire Department. A resolution authorizing the Safety Service Director to enter into an agreement to purchase a Ford truck to be used by the City Fire Department.
Move to adopt.
Motion by Mr. Haudashelt to adopt the resolution. Discussion.
Yes, Again, simple question, the name Lebanon Ford Commercial, I almost think I know the answer to this, but why them?
Lebanon Ford Commercial received the state bid contract.
State bid, okay. Thank you.
If I may, just as it relates to the purchase of, and there will be more Ford vehicles that will come through. If it's a police cruiser or if it's a vehicle that's going to be outfitted for the fire department, it will come through the Lebanon Ford, and then it goes directly to the company that outfits the radio, the lights. It streamlines that system. Ryan Delk will be purchasing a 1-ton pickup truck. Maybe later in the year, Gary Evans has a Ford pickup truck that he'll be purchasing. Chad Henry has been authorized to buy a Ford vehicle for his department. Those will take the state bid price, and we'll take that to the local Ford dealer and see if he can meet or beat that price, and then we'll make that, if he can, and he has in the past, we'll make that purchase locally.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, further discussion or question? Well, we have to, motion to adopt?
Yes.
Yes, call the roll, please.
Howeishell?
Yes.
Oliver?
Yes.
Rogers?
Yes.
Tryon?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Hensley?
Yes.
Next, we have a resolution to authorize the Safety Service Director to enter an agreement for the purchase of a skid loader and excavator equipment for the street department.
A resolution authorizing the Safety Service Director to enter into an agreement to purchase a skid loader and excavator, both with related equipment, to be used by the City Street Department. This resolution authorizes the Safety Service Director to enter into an agreement with Caterpillar to purchase a Caterpillar 262D skid loader, a Caterpillar 305 SE2 C3 mini hydraulic excavator, and related equipment for use by the Street Department.
Make a motion to suspend the rules on this resolution and read it by title only, second and third time.
Motion by Mr. Godwin to suspend the rules, read the resolution by title, second, and third time. Discussion. Call the roll.
Howeishell?
Yes.
Oliver?
Yes.
Rogers?
Yes.
Tryon?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Hensley?
Yes.
A resolution authorizing the Safety Service Director to enter into an agreement to purchase a skid loader and excavator, both with related equipment, to be used by the City Street Department. A resolution authorizing the Safety Service Director to enter into an agreement to purchase a skid loader and excavator, both with related equipment, to be used by the City Street Department.
Move to adopt the resolution.
Motion by Mr. Rogers to adopt the resolution. Discussion. Call the roll.
Howeishell?
Yes.
Oliver?
Yes.
Rogers?
Yes.
Tryon?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Hensley?
Yes.
As I was looking over those, I got the lines mixed up, and I thought, what in the world does the fire department need a skid loader for? It's like,
Get rid
wait
of
a
all the
minute.
burnt-out houses.
I thought she was gonna start on a new project. I'm sorry, I just had to say that. Okay, next, a resolution to authorize, distribution of, no longer needed personal property from the street department.
A resolution authorizing the disposition of no longer needed personal property. This resolution authorizes the disposition of miscellaneous items from the Street Department to be sold on govdeals.com.
Move to suspend the rules, read this resolution by title only, second and third time.
Motion by Mr. Oliver to suspend the rules, read the resolution by title, second, and third time. Discussion. Call the roll.
Howeishell?
Yes.
Oliver?
Yes.
Rogers?
Yes.
Tryon?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Hensley?
Yes.
A resolution authorizing the disposition of no longer needed personal property. A resolution authorizing the disposition of no longer needed personal property.
Motion to adopt the resolution?
Motion by Ms. Howeishell to adopt the resolution. Discussion.
What all equipment is included in that?
The legislation was sent out, but it's the pieces of equipment that what we just approved, what that is replacing, and what that was agreed to through the CIP purchase, that those pieces would be put on GovDeals for sale. Those pieces will be sold, the money will be receipted into the general fund, and then at the end of the year, there's a lot of different things that we're selling to replace purchases that we're making from the CIP. So at the end of the year, we'll do one transfer out of the general fund into the CIP.
Further discussion or questions? Call the roll, please.
Hottishell?
Yes.
Oliver?
Yes.
Rogers?
Yes.
Tryon?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Hensley?
Yes.
And finally, item 10, as an ordinance to contract to sell city services, water and sewer services outside the city.
An ordinance authorizing the city to enter into an agreement to provide water and sewer services outside the city of Greenville. This ordinance authorizes the mayor to execute a pre-annexation agreement to Jeffrey P. Serber after he takes titled ownership of property outside of the city limits in order to provide water and sewer services at a water rate of 110% and sewer rate of 150% of the rates charged.
Motion to suspend the rules and read by second and third time by title only?
Motion by Mrs. Haudashell to suspend the rules, read the ordinance by title, second and third time, discussion. Call the roll.
Hottishell?
Yes.
Oliver?
Yes.
Rogers?
Yes.
Tryon?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Hensley?
Yes.
An ordinance authorizing the city to enter into an agreement to provide water and sewer services outside the city of Greenville. An ordinance authorizing the city to enter into an agreement to provide water and sewer services outside the city of Greenville.
Move to adopt.
Motion by Mr. Oliver to adopt. Discussion. Question for the law director. I guess this is just the standard operating pre-annexation agreement that we have anybody who's receiving services outside the city sign.
The only distinction is, since he has not yet taken title to the property,
Oh,
that it does provide, he has to take title to the property first.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
it.
good enough.
Otherwise, it's exactly the same as everyone else's pre-annexation agreement.
Okay, thank you. Where are we here?
Motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt. Call the roll, please.
Hottishell?
Yes.
Oliver?
Yes.
Rogers?
Yes.
Tryon?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Hensley?
Yes.
Okay. That concludes all of our ordinances and resolutions. Okay. I can't write and talk at the same time. Old business, we have nothing under old business this evening. Item new business would be to set a date, which has traditionally been the first meeting in May with the Greenville Township trustees regarding appointment to the board of Greenville Union Cemetery. I'm just following tradition, why this is done in the middle of May, or the first Monday or the first meeting in May, and they don't take office until January 1 of the next year. I don't know, but we just stick with tradition, I guess. So that would be May the 2nd, right? And would you please notify the township trustees? And we will do that at 7 o'clock. This is traditionally when we do it.
Here.
Here in council chambers. As council president, I am not involved in that. The clerk will start the meeting. A chairman will be selected from the perhaps 10 of you, if all 7 of you are here and 3 of them are here. And then the chairman will proceed with the meeting. So that's all I have under any items of new business. Do we have communications?
Monthly reports were received from the following departments: Fire Department, Income Tax Department, and Transit Department. A notice dated March 13, 2017 was received from the Department of Commerce, Division of Liquor Control, noting that all permits to sell alcoholic beverages within the city must file a renewal application before June 1, 2017. And a letter dated February 24, 2017 was received from Gail Snyder regarding Irwin Brothers. These reports, notices, and letter have been distributed to council.
Okay, that's all the communications.
Where did these go?
Send those on to the mayor, will you please? All right, Nothing else on communications? We will call down the council, please.
Mrs. Hattershell?
The only thing I'd like to say is Happy Easter to everybody, and enjoy the Easter Bunny next Sunday. And with that, I pass.
Mr. Oliver?
Yeah, I'm not sure how to say this, but about a year ago, I kind of complained up here about people not paying attention, walking and talking, riding bicycles and talking, and whatever else they're doing on their cell phones. I almost ran into a child who decided to make a sudden left-hand turn in front of my vehicle at that time. If I hadn't been going considerably less than the speed limit posted, there would have been a bad result. Recently, I'm reading all kinds of things from all kinds of sources that saying people are spending more attention to their phones than to where their feet are going. And I'm going to say whether they're walking or pedaling. People, please, get a hold of your children. Try to instruct them. It's not worth an accident. And with that, I shall pass.
Mr. Rogers?
What'd you say, Todd?
Good one.
I appreciate it. I pass.
Mr. Tryon?
I passed out some cards at the beginning of the meeting. I represent the council on the Dark County Visitors Board, and they came up with a new logo at the bottom of the card on the side with the winery. And you'll notice also the 10 Best of Ohio Awards that were won here in Dark County. Matt Stockler is the director for there. Matt is here. And Matt, would you mind coming to the podium for a moment?
That's why he wouldn't let you leave.
That's right. I don't want to get anything wrong, but
Permit that, yeah.
just to back me up in case I get something wrong, on the front you'll notice that there's some facts that came out. The visitors generated over 65.5 million in business activity in Dark County, and that was in 2013, and it's gone up each year since.
Correct.
And tourism supports one in every 18 jobs in Dark County. And the personal income generated from tourism in Dark County in 2013 was 22.9 million. The Dark County Visitors Board is very vibrant, and we owe a lot of thanks and gratitude to Matt for his efforts. They do have some programs coming up with billboards, and I wanted to show this because the one is representing one of the major sponsors of the Visitors Board, which is the KitchenAid. The other one is Garst Museum, and this billboard is going to be located on 49 South, correct?
Correct.
And if we don't see enough of them already, if that's not going to scare people out of Dark County,
Questionable.
well, and
You
I.
shouldn't say that about Mr. Kimmel.
Oh, was it Burkett?
The only thing I've got is, I'm not sure, since it is an election year.
No.
If that's given undue representation, that we may have to just
Call Garst Museum.
put a happy face,
Complain.
on the top of that.
Yeah.
Matt, is there anything else that you'd like to add with the Visitors Bureau?
I would just like to thank the city for their support of our organization. A lot of people don't think that Dark County is a tourist destination, but those numbers back it up. Tourism creates wealth in this county, creates tax revenue in this county, and it increases quality of life in this county. So it's something that's worth supporting. So thank you, Tracy.
Matt's efforts are being copied a lot by other counties. When he's going to the trade shows and to the conventions, they're asking how does he do it in Dark County, and we were very fortunate to have him on board. And I pass.
Mr. Godwin?
Yeah, I'd just like to thank everybody for coming up here tonight. And also, the Home and Sports Show is this weekend out at the fairgrounds. It's going to be at the Cow Palace this year. It's going to be Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Friday will planning on a big snowstorm coming in, and probably canceling everything, but hope to see everybody out there, and with that, I'll pass.
Mr. Hensley?
I will pass.
President Burkett?
You know, as spring is in the air and we move into the Easter season and spring, we just be careful, and Mother Nature can deal with some funny things here. You know, roads could get slick and all kinds of crazy stuff happens. So I just encourage everyone to really be careful. Thanks, everyone, for your attendance. And with that, I would entertain a motion that we
Motion
rise to
to-
executive session
Rise to executive session.
for the purpose of discussing Ohio Revised Code items 12122G1, which is matters of personnel. Call roll, please.
Houdeshell?
Yes.
Oliver?
Yes.
Rogers?
Yes.
Tryon?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Hensley?
We'll stand in short recess while we clear the chambers and